All right, Astro Trends here. We're doing a Bitcoin update. If you're new to the channel, what we do here is combine astrological forecasting with traditional trend analysis to predict price movements in crypto and stock markets. So the last time we looked at Bitcoin, we had bounced off the support down here after the dump, and we're working our way up to this trend line, and we did end up breaking through, retesting, and we had a lot of, I think we had like a 12% up day yesterday, but we've fallen back down here to this support line at around 36, and trying to see some more upward movement. It looks like on the day chart we bounced off of some moving averages. You can see a better view of this trend line, this downward trend line that's held since the dump last month. Get my moving averages in here. Yeah, so we're fighting the 20-day moving average. Bounced down off of it. We're unable to get above it yesterday, and we've been fighting between the 9 and the 20 today. But it is a pretty big deal that we've been able to, at least for the time being, get above this downward trend line. A lot of analysts are looking at a retest of the 50. So in the next couple of days we may see that. But there's still a lot of uncertainty in the markets. A lot of people are still expecting 20s before then, if we ever get up to the 40s again in the short term, that is. But let's take a look at the astrology and see if we can shed some light on these questions. Let's take a look at what we have over the next couple of days. Today's June 10th, 2021. Moon is just separating from that solar eclipse still. Let's get the time right. Looking at 1:11 right now. Let's go to about 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, that is. So we have Venus here, big significator of price. Transiting, it's just in the last couple days left its exact opposition to Mars, and the next major aspect it will make is to the Sun, an opposition. That can be a good indicator. It's a bit mixed. It depends on the context, really. We also have Mars, 29 degrees of Cancer, getting ready to ingress into Aries. My concern with this in the short term, let's see when we'll get that. So it'll make its ingression by tomorrow, and it's going to be opposing Mercury exact by the 14th. That's Monday, I believe. So that's not the greatest indicator. We might see some more negative news. Could be a tweet from our favorite people, or it could even be institutional or governmental, rather, news that might be negative for the price. That's the major thing I'm seeing right now. Other than that, we have the Sun still approaching square with Saturn, also not a great sign. The Moon over the next couple of days. Moon will be opposing Pluto and Mars overnight, it looks like. Let's get an exact time on that. Ingress is at 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got Pluto at 1 degree, so at 6 a.m. it will be directly opposed Pluto. I sometimes don't see the negative price action you'd expect from a tight aspect to Pluto until after it's passed over it and gets to the midpoint between Pluto and Mars. That's usually the sweet spot. So we have Mars at 5 degrees, Pluto at 2, so around 3 to 4 degrees, around 10, 11 o'clock tomorrow Eastern time does not look so good. So we're fighting to maintain the support. Let's drop in drop in a vertical line here to signify that time. So it's going to be the 11th at 11. And this bar back here was the solar eclipse exact, and we actually got some. It actually served as a kind of lift for the price, an attractor above this trend line, and suppose that's the unpredictability and the the impulsiveness of Uranus bursting through the Saturnian barrier here. Though perhaps we might see as the Sun approaches an exact square with Saturn, that may be some indication of Saturn winning out in that struggle. But if we do start to move upward further, I would expect to see some pullback around 11 o'clock tomorrow. So keep a lookout for that. And not financial advice, but if you found this video helpful or entertaining, please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for our updates in crypto and stock markets. One more thing I wanted to cover was a topic that a user by the name of David Garcia brought up in the comments, asking about a comparison to the previous new moon, or the previous eclipse rather, in December. You always get the eclipses 6 months apart because it gives the sun just enough time to get to this sign opposite to make a conjunction to the nodes, which you get an eclipse whenever the new moon or full moon is also conjunct or in the same place as the nodes there. So this was a south node solar eclipse, and you see it also made a square to the Uranus Saturn opposition here, that same axis that this past one had. The eclipse was not quite as exact. Looks like it hit at about 23 degrees. Yeah, so 23 degrees, whereas so not quite as tight as the one yesterday by a couple of degrees, but interestingly we also had Mercury pretty tight in there, which again speaks to eclipses bring in a lot of energy, and Mercury being co-present there brings in energy around conversation, media, the talk around Bitcoin, and just like 6 months ago where we had institutional conversation around institutional adoption was really cropping up. This past week we've seen, or past 2 weeks we've seen more Musk tweets. We've seen Micro Solutions, always ever active in the conversation, and now most recently we have Guatemala adopting Bitcoin as a kind of reserve currency. I think there's news today about them making moves to get green mining energy in there. So yeah, that's very reflected by this this Saturn-Uranus axis. In Saturn here we have old ways of doing things, tried and true ways of doing things that restrictive force to keep things that way. And in Uranus, we see the urge to change, the necessity to change, to adopt new ways of doing things. So that's Bitcoin has this opposition in its natal chart, and it obviously often comes up in discussions and concerns around this movement from the old way to the modern age, and always comes up in those sorts of discussions. So another interesting thing is the price around these discussions, and around December and yesterday in June. It's a tight range there. I think we were in the 20s in December. Now we're in the 30s, but it's come up again in a big way. This seems to be a sensitive price zone for these ideas, these discussions. But yeah, just wanted to give a little update on that. It's probably worthy of its own video in itself. Just taking a look at the eclipses and examining this Saturn-Uranus axis in more detail. So maybe I'll do something like that at some point. Let me know if you'd be interested in learning more about that in the comments below. Thanks.